It's late and my room is dirty. I know, but I gotta come to y'all with another video regardless after like a 3 or 4 month long hiatus. So without further ado, welcome to my channel. Hi guys, hello, welcome to my channel. For those of y'all who don't know, my name is X's and this is my channel X's Does. Welcome. I'm gonna move the hamper out of the way, like hide the hamper so it looks a little less messy. Like if I put it like here, see, at least you have all of this space back here for it to be like really like clean, you know? I wish there was like a filter for me to like gray out the background if I had to. That would be so helpful for me. But anyway, hi. Long time no see. It's been a minute. It's been a while. I guess you guys are wondering where I have been. And I have been coping. I have been out. I've just been coping with the fact that it has been like upwards of 8 months and I still haven't been able to find a job. We'll talk about it because the current landscape of the economy is awful. It's just terrible. No one can find work. And I think what's crazy is that people are scrambling everywhere, like left and right, everywhere, to pivot into a new role because they feel like the current job they have is really, really bad. And it's not conducive at all because every single corner of the workforce is struggling. So yeah, things have just been really tough and I've been coping with that. I've been trying to get my health in order too. I'm really happy about that as well. I have started going to the gym again and yeah, just kind of incorporating that into my routine, making sure my diet's a little bit better. And so I think I'm in a good headspace now to restart up this series. For those of y'all who don't know, this is my series, Hey Access What's on Your Mind. Kind of a yap session, kind of a podcast, depending on how you look at it. A very like ghetto, unkempt, messy room core podcast. Pretend like this is a FaceTime video. That's the type of energy I'm trying to give you, and I'm just rattling all my takes about life. Okay, so yes, we are probably in the 4th episode of Hey Access What's on Your Mind. What's crazy is I made another episode around November that I wasn't able to finish because it was too long. And so I realized, okay, if I want to keep doing this podcast series for the sake of my mental health and my sanity, I'm just going to make these like Hey Access, this series, like a little bit shorter. It should still be in podcast format, but my goal is to make it no more than like 45 to 50 minutes. After 50 minutes, we're in messy territory. Okay, we're just being a little mess. All right, so anyway, usually with the Hey Access What's on Your Mind series, I like to do my makeup while I app to you guys. However, my brushes are not clean. Like, they're not clean, so I'm not gonna do my makeup today. Recently, I posted up a video of me going through my hair process, my natural hair growth, length retention process, and what I have been doing to help my hair stay strong and healthy while I retain a certain amount of length. That has been posted, I believe, last week. It should be going out this Friday, which when this video comes out will be last Friday. And so I guess to do a follow-up on that, I'm going to detangle my hair while I yap to you guys. I like to take my protective style, my low manipulation protective style out every week now. Not to just wear it. I don't really wear it. I just want to comb my fingers through the hair to make sure that, you know, they're like all the single strands, anything that might look like it could like detangle on itself is removed. So I'm just gonna kind of take out my hair, take out my braids, see how it looks, and then probably put it back, braid it back into the same style it is in now while I talk to you guys. I also do this because come wash day, it'll be a lot easier for me to actually detangle my hair around that time if I've already ran my fingers through the hair and just checked to see where there could potentially be like tangles and knots if I've kind of already like coursed my hair through it. A lot of my natural hair journey and my natural hair care practice so far has been me keeping my hair stretched out as possible. I realized that my hair can actually stretch out without heat and look good as soon as I started to take care of it a lot more and put it in more low manipulative protective styles, protecting my ends and just, you know, making sure that I am being supplemented from the inside out. So I'm realizing that stretch styles are a lot more effective for me to retain length, especially as a financial girly. But yeah, I'm going to just do a piggyback off of that video for this episode at least, and then next time we'll probably get back into the swing of doing makeup while I talk to you guys and like a full glam. Yeah, so there is that. Another update change is probably that I'm only gonna be posting these types of videos like 2 times a month, like the Hey Exes What's on Your Mind series, anywhere between 1 to 2 times a month. As I figure out what type of content I can like create, I'm looking into making reaction videos. Those seem really fun, so I might just do that instead. Post the live stream of the reaction video on my live stream channel and then post the recorded video on here, so just be on the lookout for that. But other than that, let's get into the details of some of the things that are on my mind. With that being said, let's talk about our first topic, okay? All right, so y'all, as I said early on in this video, the job market.
But the data also had newly revised figures that paint an even weaker picture of last year's performance. The U.S. economy added just 181,000 net jobs last year, about 400,000 fewer than initially reported, and far from the 1.4 million jobs added in 2024. This all comes as some corporations like Amazon and UPS are announcing tens of thousands of layoffs. And there's been a surge in corporate layoffs, as we mentioned. The global outplacement firm Challenger Gray and Christmas released a report that said layoffs were 118% higher compared with January of 2025. What kind of warning sign does that send? Or is this a normalization after pandemic era over expansion?
I think for the tech sector, for companies like Amazon, some of it is normalization, and that's been going on for a few years already. But some of it is they've invested very heavily in AI.
She noted that the 181,000 jobs you mentioned earlier in an economy of 158 million is basically nothing. And then you have the Fed governor, Chris Waller, he's a Trump appointee. He mentioned in his dissent that the recent payroll gains do not remotely look like a healthy labor market. Is this a cyclical cooling, or is something more structural happening beneath the surface here?
We're not sure yet. And that's why, from one month to the next, we keep watching the numbers closely. I think both of those comments are basically accurate. Just very little new hiring going on for the reasons I've already said, because businesses face so much uncertainty. There's a drop-off in consumer demand.
It sucks. Like, I don't know what better way to tell you that the job market is so painfully ghetto. It's not even ghetto at this point. It's like we're living in squalor, bro, with this job market. Things are so like ass backwards. We're in a K economy, right? So the people who are making their money, like the few that are, and those like who are working in essential jobs like health care, maybe, they are making their money, right? The top 5%, top 1%, they are on the higher half of the K, right? Higher half of the K. This is the K, right? They are on the higher half. They are making all the money they need to from being a part of these mass layoffs, right? Or just coming from means and resources, right? And then everybody else, like the white collar workers, the service workers, everybody else is just on a downward trajectory. And I think what's really crazy, as I mentioned before, is people are trying to look for security. Like they are fighting and scratching for security. 2026 is the year of, how can I find a job that isn't going to lay me off? Where can I find my job security? How can I hold on to my job for as long as possible? And what I'm noticing is that even when people try to pivot from one career path, right, to another, it's still painfully difficult and also still has a lot of the same issues. Like, for example, some people might consider getting into nursing and becoming a nurse or going into healthcare, and then you have a bunch of nurses saying like, don't do that, it is awful over here, there are barely any bedside nurses anymore, even though healthcare is considered like the most like safe job that you can get. There's barely any bedside nurses, there's barely anyone to like help run the hospitals in the way that they need to. And unfortunately, a lot of people who go to the hospital for services, or I guess go to the ER room, they're not getting the proper care that they need. So there's that. Even if you wanted to get a more professional, like doctorate level of healthcare, you'd have to spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars in this economy. Or if you were trying to even like go into nursing school, apparently this administration has taken away like, certain eligibilities for loans that might not be considered, professional degrees like nursing. I'm gonna pull out my hair grease. Even if I think I don't need it, I always like to have it on hand. yeah, this Trump administration has made it very clear that nursing, any like degree in healthcare that isn't like a doctor degree, isn't considered a professional degree, and therefore you will not get the resources from student loan programs as if it were a professional degree, which is very crazy because like nurses are the main ones that are attached to at the hip to the patient, not really the doctor. The doctor comes in with the diagnosis, and the nurses are just attached to the patient and following up with the patient and whatnot, making sure the patient's good when the actual surgery or procedure is happening. Crazy. But yeah, even if you were to go for a government job, those are being let go, especially with Musk and his like Dogecoin cuts. And I don't even know if Musk is still doing stuff with Trump. I don't know the relationship those two have. It doesn't seem like a very healthy one. It's just one moment I see them crashing out on Twitter, and then the next moment I see them like together on like what seems to be a car infomercial. Like, I don't know, dude. I don't know the relationship between the two of them, but like he made a lot of cuts to the government that were not conducive at all. And then what little government jobs we have left, such as the TSA agents, like for example, TSA agents, where it's very impossible for you to get let go or terminated from that job. Well, guess what? Now they're not getting paid again because of a partial shutdown.
Agents working without a paycheck, many of them choosing to call out sick or just quit. And look at this, the results, long security lines remaining a huge problem all across airports in the United States.
Good afternoon once again. We just saw about 10 ICE agents actually come through here and make their way towards the main checkpoint right here. This is the main thoroughfare that we've seen many people coming and going through over the last few days. Now, ICE agents here are supposed to be assisting with crowd control and making sure that everyone stays calm amid this travel chaos that we have seen over the last few days. But as you can see right here, Reed, I am just outside the main checkpoint and there is nobody. You are able to just walk right in to the checkpoint. Now, once you get in there, you're probably going to be waiting a few minutes, but this is a stark difference from what we saw yesterday. But we are still seeing high amounts of callouts on these TSA officers. Data released by the agency says here in Atlanta alone yesterday, there were roughly 40-45% of those agents that called out yesterday.
Trades are really popular now, right? Everyone's like, go into trades, don't be a software engineer, don't be a coding monkey, whatever, right? Okay, a lot of trades people are like, yeah, don't do this unless you have like the entrepreneurial spirit, because if you're going to be working under someone, you're not going to be making the money that you think you can, right? Like say if you are a plumber and you work under somebody who owns a plumbing company, you're not going to be making those boku bucks. You're better off starting your own business. And then the question is like, do you have the entrepreneurial spirit? A lot of us like think we do, but we really don't, okay? And I think that when content creators talk about being their own boss, they kind of conflate the idea that like YouTube is technically their boss. Like they're not really an entrepreneur in the way that they think they are. If they can't traffic other people to another platform or to a website of some sort, right? Or a product. I don't know. It's just very difficult to do. So like, yeah, not everyone can do the trades. Because the trades isn't just about working a 9-to-5 trades job and going home. Some of the trades are about you have to have like a entrepreneurial salesman type of skill set. And quiet as it's kept, like how many plumbers do we actually need? How many electricians do we actually need? How many HVAC people do we actually need? If everyone gets into the trades and it becomes oversaturated like software engineer, will they not have the same dilemma in like the next 10 to 15 years? And then if we really want to talk about it, who's to say they might not outsource their services? I don't know if flip-flopping from career to career is really conducive in such a tumultuous time in the economy. I think it's just something that we're all going to have to like wait out, unfortunately, because no one's talking about the elephant in the room that nothing is secure right now. Nothing is secure and there's no stability whatsoever. And the jobs that are actually secure are not paying people their worth. I believe nurses starting out only make like $75K a year for all the stuff they have to deal with, right? No one's having that genuine, honest, heart-to-heart conversation. White collar America is in a wreck. Even in like the interviewing stages, it's like very difficult for most white collar people to even get a job interview in a time like this. I've said this before, mostly it's because a lot of jobs are being outsourced to India, and also because a lot of companies are getting stock price raises by blaming their layoffs on the efficiency of AI and wanting to displace jobs. The thing about AI though is that we're slowly but starting to realize it's a bubble, and that it's not as productive as people want it to be, especially if you're just like a normal person using AI. If you're actually like a machine learning, engineer or an AI engineer, it's a little bit more productive, right? Perhaps. But for the most part, a lot of people are just normies using OpenClaw, thinking that they're deploying whole ass AI agents, when in actuality, they're probably just giving their data to a bot for free. So a lot of generative AI has shown that it's not productive. It looks like slop. People can peep that some of the generative AI images look like slop. And then even worse, AI cannot run at enterprise scale successfully yet. It can't. And so a lot of these companies, on paper, it says, oh, we let go, this workforce because of AI and its efficiency. When in actuality, they want to rehire the same amount of work, but for cheap, or they want to be able to outsource their work for cheap. And that's slowly becoming like more and more of a reality. In the next 6 months to a year, the AI craze will slowly die out, and it will be a bubble that has popped, but there will be a need for artificial intelligence, risk and assessment, regulations, and more of a pursuit of like how agentic AI can work alongside an individual in a white collar job. I also believe that the white collar jobs where you are making pretty good money are probably going to be asking for super, super, super cheap salaries. And I think a lot of companies can get away with it because they know that people are desperate. And I think that's the sad part, is that a lot of these companies have put people in desperate situations where they have to tap into their 401ks, tap into their funds, their savings. People don't want to do that. You know what I mean? And they're just waiting for people to be desperate enough so that they'll accept anything. So, they can go back to exploiting the little guy, unfortunately. Along with me noticing the trends of the current job market, the sleazy tactics that a lot of these employers are doing, I also feel like even looking for a job has been just as difficult, if not worse, than if you were trying to become a big name actress in like Hollywood or a big time influencer. It almost seems like LinkedIn is expecting people to move and operate like they're legitimate influencers and not like workers with skill sets. It's no longer how good you are at doing your job, and more so how good you look and how brand friendly you are on LinkedIn. And I don't really like that, because at the end of the day, what the hell do I look like doing all of these things, creating portfolios of case studies, showing that I can do the work, constantly posting on LinkedIn nonstop about corporate slop that I don't really care about, and try to present myself as like a brand friendly corporate, I guess work celebrity of some sort that knows how to show results or, work towards end goals and results, right? Only for me to work another job that isn't going to pay me as nearly as much as a big named actor, as an artist making music, or even as a content creator. At that point, I might as well just be a content creator, right? I think that's the difficulty I have. Why would I do that and get paid a fraction of what I would get paid if I just opened up my camera, went on stream 3 times a week, posted on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever I can spread my awareness, and with the potential of getting paid significantly more for, just yapping all day than working for another job? Like, why the hell would I do that? Why would I do that? And it's just so unfortunate, because I guess the way technology or knowledge has been spread with technology and algorithms, people really have the luxury of staying in their own little bubbles, that they don't realize how bad things actually are. It's just really, really bad right now. And it has me thinking a lot as to whether or not, I even want to be in the industry I'm in, because it should not be this difficult to get a regular working job. It should not be this painful to get a job. There are so many companies that are just so predatory and trying to get our information. Who knows that people are desperate for jobs and they're just data farming our info for what? I don't know. There is way too much trust in artificial intelligence when we know the numbers have shown that it hasn't been producing the same revenue as it was projected to produce. And we also know that AI isn't as productive as it was projected to be, but there's still some like blind trust to it. And I don't know. I think we need to come to terms with the economy is really bad. Current administration, and probably the administration before us, has like effed up this economy brutally, right? We're about to go into WAR. It's just kind of shitty. It's kind of, you know, it's rough out here, y'all. Yeah, so I'm coming on 8 months now of being unemployed, and even when I tell my parents like, hey, I'm struggling, they're like, oh, well, just apply to a little job, you know, just apply to something in the meantime. And I keep telling them I've sent in a ton of applications. No one's hiring. See, the thing about you being like an expert in your like field, especially like in the white collar space, a lot of service jobs are hesitant to hire you because they worry that when the economy picks up again, you won't be working for them in the long term. That's the reason why a lot of us remove our college degrees off of resumes when we just want to work at McDonald's and don't write about our accomplishments on our resumes at all, because they'll look at that and be like, you're overqualified for this job, we can't have you. So yeah, unfortunate, but it is what it is. On the bright side, this AI bubble that we're in does not look, it looks like it's going to be really bad for all of us, but at least there will be a need to bring, at the very least, human workers back with solid AI skills, like productive AI skills, not AI generative slop, not the product manager who doesn't have any experience in software development thinking that they can create a whole back-end software code with vibe coding, you know what I mean? Thinking that, you know, things will never really be the same, like this is just how it's gonna be. America as a country has been kicking this like proverbial stone of, you know, I hate to say it, but late stage capitalism for a while, and it's just catching up to all of us. And unfortunately, a lot of us are suffering because of it. I just know that things are in complete chaos, that even like basic like government social workers aren't even getting paid their worth because of just how ass backwards things are, and it's affecting everybody. So yeah, sucks for all of us, but I don't know, maybe people will finally wake up and come out much better from all of it when it's all said and done. Anyway, next topic. So I think with that in mind, with like things going on with like the Trump administration and all of that, and just how bad things have gone, I can't sit up here and not talk about how the culture has shifted to a bit more conservative, value-based content, value-based information. I've noticed over the past 5 to 6 years, a lot of people are, you know, really grifting towards the conservative type of lifestyle, traditional values, culture, and all of that. Particularly with women, there was a harsh backlash against feminism of the 2010s, right? A lot of women nowadays choose not to identify themselves as feminists anymore and have thrown in their girl boss mentality for more conservative trad wife femininity values. And so with that in mind, I just want to say I will never forgive any of y'all for throwing away feminism and villainizing it in the replacement of this like new trad wife traditional values movement that has happened. This is something that I've really wanted to talk about because it seems like sane people who have a brain like genuinely believe that feminism has been harmful to everyone, especially women. And I think it is a very scary narrative, especially when you tell women who are destitute and desperate that feminism won't help them and that they are better off aligning their identity with getting married and having children and putting them in a situation where they could be financially trapped and lose their autonomy as women based off of the responsibilities that they have and they have been socialized to take care of. And doing this all in the name of like traditional values of feminism is the villain of let's shame the childless single cat lady with the blue hair and piercings, yelling at people why feminism is important, and let's start uplifting and celebrating the trad wife mom who sits at home and bakes bread all day, okay? And while one is significantly different than the other, one carries very different aesthetics than the other, I think one thing that we have to talk about and discuss is both movements are also two sides of the same coin. Girl boss feminism, commercial girl boss feminism that was spoon-fed to us in the early 2010s is the same, if not equivalent to, the trad wife movement of the 2020s, okay? The only difference is one has colorful hair and girls get it done mentality, and the other one is spoon feeding you nuclear family household propaganda. And I think the sooner that people realize this, hopefully more and more people have realized and discovered this, easier it will be for all of us to move on and maybe not be so easily manipulated and swayed by propaganda. Because I don't mean to sound like a little wokey over here, but feminism at its core was never about utilizing the qualities of late stage capitalism to exploit other people, except instead of doing it with a penis, you had a vagina. That was never the goal of feminism, right? The goal of feminism at its core was to give equality to all races of women, all orientations of people, and all genders, okay? Its job was to dismantle a structure that hasn't been beneficial to anybody, and that grandiose structure is patriarchy. Like, I know people don't like to hear it. New age, fake, lukewarm, free thinker motherfuckers will call it the matrix. They'll call it the system, the society. I'm just gonna call it what it is. It's probably the patriarchy, okay? A lot of the things that we are impacted by are created by stuffy old white men from hundreds of years ago that were creating idealistic fallacies of what men and women ought to be instead of what men and women are. And we've been suffering from that for years. Men have been struggling under that for years. They get into the workforce and they realize, especially now that nobody can get a job, including them, they realize that they can't make the money that their baby boomer grandfathers can and live that luxurious lifestyle of the wife and the kids and the one income household and going on vacations every so often and putting all their kids through college. They can't live that life anymore. That's not how this economy works. Okay, and for whatever reason, instead of blaming the vertically, like the system, late stage capitalism and patriarchy for not working in their favor, right? They're turning around and pointing horizontally at women for looking into feminism and creating more autonomy instead of settling for the qualities that men just don't have anymore, they cannot obtain. Instead of being like, hey, why can't I get a job? Why can't I get a job? Why am I not getting paid my worth? What is going on? It's, why are women so independent? Why are women so independent, so difficult, and so picky? Why are all these women wanting to be single and don't want to sleep with me? Like, meanwhile, you don't even have enough to take a woman out on a date. Like, let's talk about it, right? I think it is very, very harmful the way we have shifted our viewpoint on feminism and have replaced it with traditional white values. Sure, you might have like the Lindy, oh, I forgot her name, but the woman who wrote Shrill. Yeah, sure, you might have those type of feminists of the 2010s, right? Or like the girl boss feminist of like, you know, the lady who started, what was it, one of those fast fashion companies, right? Lena Dunham's girls and all of those women, to an extent, did show representation of what it meant to be an empowered woman, but also might have been flawed in some ways based off of the privileges that they might have had themselves. I don't think the replacement is Nara Smiths and ballerina farms and that one TikTok creator that kind of looks like Betty Draper, if Betty Draper from Mad Men had a boob job. I don't. And I also think that if you really look at the agenda of a lot of like these anti-feminist women in particular, who keep on encouraging that women stay home, get married, bring kids into the world, take care of the kids, and build their whole identity around that, a lot of them are working jobs themselves. A lot of them are encouraging this type of lifestyle, but don't live this type of lifestyle themselves. And even when they get called out on it, they immediately jump to, well, my life isn't traditional. I am the exception to the rule, but the average woman is not.
Women make up about 47% of the workforce. Mm-hmm. If this were the case and that women were just inherently unhappy or unfulfilled working and would just prefer to be at home, Why don't they?
To prior feminist waves nearly impossible, because now, which I believe the reason that the government wanted women to enter the workforce is because it gave them an opportunity to tax a household twice. And so this goes back to what I was saying, is that there's a lot of financial pressure that is being exerted on young women to enter the workforce, and they do so blindly under this illusion that somehow entering the workforce is going to make you more fulfilled, like getting yourself into six figures of debt going to college to then take on a career and be in debt and having to pay student loans while you make 35K is going to make you happier. And I'm saying that isn't actually true.
Okay, so I hear that. Yeah. At the same time, would you not agree that that women can both have a career and have children? I mean, you are actively doing that right now.
And I want to be very clear, because I'm actively doing it right now. I would be someone that you would call an exception because I get to work from home. I get to wake up in the morning. I don't have a boss, right? I don't have to go into the office from 9 to 5. I get to then therefore spend the entire morning with my children.
You are an exception, and 47% of women that make up our labor force are also an exception?
No, the exact opposite. So I'm trying to make it more realistic, because I think it's really bad form when people who are able to stay at home, right, and are able to start working at 1 o'clock p.m. as I do after being around their children. The children are running around all day. Will then preach to you that every woman can have this. That's not the reality. The reality is that the overwhelming majority of people are stuck behind a desk all day, and they're not happy. They're not doing work that gratifies them at all, and at the same time, they're suspending.
Well, that's just what career you've chosen. But I think that the issue with
work a 9 to 5. I think that's
okay. Yes, but
right?
if it's the job that is making them unhappy, then maybe they should have chosen a different career path and not the structure of the career itself.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. A lot of people are feeding you steak oil, especially these like fake woman empowerment, feminine trad wife ladies, especially these fake trad wife ladies. Do not listen to these women, okay? Sit up here and tell you that they are somehow the exception to the rule because they have the luxury of, traveling to different conventions, guest speaking at different events about why women need to stay in the kitchen while they get to make all the money independently on their own and create autonomy for themselves. Never trust somebody who's telling you the exact opposite of what they're doing and making money from it. Unfortunately, that particular party and they have an issue with people just blindly believing whatever they say and going along with it as long as they don't get bigger than the program. But at the end of the day, it's harmful to their audience. It's harmful to the masses. I think when we look back at this time, we will definitely see a lot of women come out and say how much they regret believing a lot of this nonsense that has been spewed. We already see it now, especially a lot of women on social media just kind of discuss how difficult it is to take care of a family, difficult it is to be a wife. They didn't expect motherhood and marriage to be as bad as it actually was. And I think listening to those stories for me personally and just realizing where my life is going and where I want it to head, it's one of the reasons why I decided that I don't really have a desire to get married or have kids anymore, because that just seems exhausting. And I think what's really harmful for women in general is that for years we haven't had genuine, honest conversations about this at all. We haven't. Like, how many mothers are out here telling their daughters really what it is when it comes to marriage and children bearing? Like, how many? Not many. Not many at all, okay? Like, a lot of the lessons I learned about growing up as a woman and womanhood and all of that, I did not learn from my family. And I was raised around a bunch of women my whole entire life. I think that's so harmful. And I think it's great that so many women are coming out now and sharing their experiences, talking about how difficult and how hard it can be for them, how brutal it is for them, especially when they fall in love with the fallacy of marriage. Personally, for me, I just want to excuse myself from all of that. I just don't see the appeal at all, because it's like, whether you are a wife or a BM, you still are screwed over. Why does it really matter? You know what I mean? I hope I'm making sense. Anyway, shout out to those out there who do actually get married and who do come together and have a very healthy marriage. Shout out to y'all. And also shout out to those who tried the marriage thing and it just ended up not working. But I've always seen marriage as I don't know, just smoke and mirrors. I'll never forgive y'all for how y'all did feminism. And I will laugh heartily when you all are waking up and realizing that these new sub movements that are coming out, trad wife, women empowerment movements, and all of them are unproductive AF and are just as bad as the commercial feminism of the early 2010s. And I also do believe that the reason why feminism was so villainized in the 2010s is because of late stage capitalism, which really did not provide solutions to make everybody's lives easier and improve. It just provided a way for women to now exploit people in the same way men have done for years. So I think that's what people are really mad at the end of the day, is that a lot of these movements that get commercialized, get watered down, and force people not to think critically about the movements they're a part of or what they're consuming. And eventually people get tired of the nuances that seem to fall within the cracks. Next topic. Thousands culture is coming back. If it's not back, it's already here. There is a huge infatuation with early 2000s culture. And as someone who grew up in the 2000s as an early 2000s kid, right? Born in the mid 90s, got to really experience like the fun, sporadic, spontaneous, bright and colorful aesthetic of the 2000s as a kid. I can safely say there has been a heavy push to bring early 2000s culture back. And while I do love people engaging and romanticizing a culture that I was a part of as a kid, I do have to be critical about all the negativity that people are pushing in the 2020s that had happened in the 2000s, okay? And what I mean by that is a lot of y'all want to do the same toxic culture of the 2000s in 2020, not realizing, paying attention to, or even caring why we stopped doing those things to begin with, right? So let me give you an example. Let me state my case, okay? While I play with my hair. I love how healthy my hair is, by the way. Diet culture. Hello? Yes, ma'am. Diet culture, okay? Where the 2010s celebrated curvier bodies, bigger asses, BBLs, fat positivity, and movements such as the body positivity and the fat positivity movement, right? The early 2000s has done a full 360 back into skinny culture, down to the point where if you can't physically get skinny on your own naturally, you can go and get a medication that will help you get skinny, almost immediately by essentially causing you to stop eating anymore, right? And this same push for toxic diet culture has gotten to a point where people are taking extreme measures in order to maintain an unrealistic physique, all while still not really achieving the unrealistic beauty standards of the 2000s, right? I hear that people will talk about how, being skinny is in, being thin is in, being unrealistically skinny is in, not realizing some of the harmful things that a lot of those women had to go through, because usually this really does impact women and their bodies more. That because of the toxic diet standards of the early 2000s, because of the super toxic diet standards, we had to introduce a conversation about ED culture and binge eating and all of that. And that was shown in a lot of teen movies and teen dramas. I remember in Gossip Girl, they had an episode about that. I think Blair Waldorf, she had an ED where she was binge eating. I don't think people understand that in them trying to obtain this unattainable beauty standard of being unrealistically skinny, that they are encouraging this type of culture, and that the generations ahead of them are looking at this information and thinking that this is okay and this is healthy, when in actuality, none of it's okay, none of it's healthy, and it's all just a bad idea. When we started getting to the conversation of eating cucumbers and water every day for 5 times a day, and not talking about having proteins and carbs and healthy fats in your diet, that's when I started to be like, oh, we are in trouble, right? And now, so crazy is that we're to the point where we celebrated this beauty standard of being unrealistically skinny, or in the 2020s, that we're doing the same type of thing we used to do, attack women with in the 2000s, that when they have achieved this beauty standard and they've taken it a step too far, we come in and we start shaming them, right? Popular teen icons that I remember was, Mary-Kate and Ashley, their drastic weight loss, Lindsay Lohan, her drastic weight loss, Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, their drastic weight loss. Yet and still they lived in a culture that said the bigger you are as a woman, the lesser off you'll be. And so they get smaller and smaller and shrink themselves, and now they're too skinny and there's a problem. The same thing is happening now, except it might not happen with Nicole Richie, Paris Hilton, Mary-Kate and Ashley and all that. Now it's happening with like Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo.
Controversial take, but I do not care about the vast majority of celebrities who are dropping weight, like Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Now, where I do care is the fact that women like this have a very broad audience, meaning they are influencing young children all the way through adulthood. I would hope that most adults will look at this and think, this is not okay.
Tess is going viral for how skinny they are. And it is quite alarming given that we can see the bones protruding from the skin. And many of them, you can literally see the rib cage.
Everyone has been talking about Cynthia and Ariana's skinny look. It seems like those two actresses really put themselves under a lot of pressure turning that Wicked movie.
Why did Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo become so skinny after filming Wicked? The reasons behind it are creepy.
Why are they so skinny? We're worried. We're trying to be girls. We're worried about those women. Why are they so skinny? That's not normal. They shouldn't be that small, right? Shannon Osbourne, she just lost her father. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Shout out to the king, the OG goat of metal music. But like, why are y'all attacking her body image? You don't think she doesn't know what her body looks like to the public? You like, what? And a lot of y'all will do this in the name of, well, I'm just looking out for sis. I'm just being a girl's girl. Okay, I'm a girl's girl. A lot of y'all like to say that you are girls, when in actuality, a lot of y'all are bitches. Just say it with your chest. You are a bitch. Okay? Even like the tabloidism of the early 2000s, like Britney Spears, for example, comes to mind. Okay? Paparazzi would get paid boku bucks to take pictures of Britney Spears in candid moments. I think the guy who took a picture full head on of Britney Spears with her whole entire head shaved off and the umbrella, right? I think he got paid like $1 million for that photo to be posted on People magazine and the News Inquirer and all of that, right? Because back then we had magazines. We didn't have social media, okay? A lot of y'all are doing the same nonsense. These paparazzi and these gossip mags and entertainment news used to do in the 2000s. A lot of y'all are doing it for free. If not for free, for pennies on TikTok. Ranting on TikTok, on social media, even on YouTube, ranting about all these celebrities and why they aren't like ideal figures and like what's wrong with them, and this is the problem with the culture today, and did you believe what Chappell Roan said, and oh my god, Sabrina Carpenter and Taylor Swift and all of this other stuff. Like, a lot of y'all are doing this stuff for free, especially the newer pop girlies. You are dragging these newer pop girlies by the edges and you are not getting anything from it. It's like new age tabloidism, but you get very little in return outside of engagement. And we know platforms like TikTok and IG aren't paying like that anymore. So like, what are you getting out of like tearing these women down, tearing these people down? Like, it's like nobody can make you happy anymore. You notice that? Hey guys, Editing Access here. So I want to expand on this point a little bit. I had talked about how I think that we are all kind of contributing to this new age form of tabloidism that is effectively harming the people we make commentary about, the celebrities, pop culture figures, influencers that we make commentary about, but also contributing to a bigger issue of celebrity worship and celebrity culture. And I just want to add that I am not exonerated from this culture or this cyclical symbiotic relationship. I can admit that there have been times where I do yap about celebrities and I do talk about them and kind of give more of like a grounded commentary as to why people do the things that they do, or why certain pop culture figures, act the way they do. I mean, I am a commentator, so that is what I am supposed to be doing, right, on YouTube. However, I would say for me personally, how I do things a little bit differently is I don't try to explicitly attack a celebrity or a famous figure or a public figure unless they've gotten their lashes, rightfully so, right? Like, for example, Nicki Minaj turning MAGA, and abandoning her whole entire fan base, like that makes sense to comment and critique on, and then maybe do like a more analytical commentary on like how did we get here with Onika and her fan base, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with my commentary, though I am facing a lot of friction talking about celebrities all the time. And I don't know, maybe in the future I might just talk about other things that I'm passionate about without centering pop culture in the front of it. Though I do understand that pop culture is what's trending and everyone's going to talk about it. I just think that it's very interesting that the way we talk about pop culture now does reflect exactly how we used to talk about it in the 2000s, except there's this air of like we know better or we're trying to do better, when in actuality we're all not doing as good, if not just as worse as people were talking about celebrity gossip in pop culture in the 2000s. So I hope that makes sense. I don't want to come off as like I'm better than everybody else, because I really am not. I'm just a person online. But also I do really want to acknowledge that people constantly raking public figures through the mud, and especially women, in the name of like I'm just trying to look out for people or I'm just trying to set an example, isn't really conducive and isn't really effective, and in some ways is, especially with women, is it's a bit misogynistic. But yeah, anyway, I've noticed that the same culture, toxic culture, repeated over and over again. A lot more angry and very irritated because a lot of y'all are doing this and you know better. Y'all will do this in the name of being like a girl's girl or just looking out, or for some like weird niche, like convoluted, like word salad of a take, while also critiquing the toxicity of the early 2000s from a reality show a la America's Next Top Model. A lot of y'all have the resources to know better, but you won't do better because that's not what gives you engagement. That's not what gives you traction. That's not what gets people talking. And that's just really unfortunate. You know what I mean? We are repeating the same cycles of the early 2000s and we're not even realizing it. It must be so painful for a lot of Gen Alpha to grow up through this. A lot of people want to talk about this generation, this generation, that. Gen Alpha's cooked, chat, like all this other nonsense. No, I think we're cooked, and it's not this generation's cooked, it's our generation, and we need to start holding some accountability for how we show up online. And I think that accountability starts with us having a conversation about how we talk about people's bodies, how we talk about, you know, certain topics, how we overly obsess over celebrity culture. This is news to me. I didn't realize this because I'm not in Youngin's business, okay? But apparently y'all are like always on Northwest case. Like apparently a lot of people are always holding her under scrutiny, whether it be that she's too grown up, she's not being age appropriate, whatever it is, right? And it's starting to sound very obsessive in the way that people would obsess over the evolution of Britney Spears from being an innocent young starlet to being like the sex symbol icon of a woman that she was in the 2000s. Like it's really starting to look like that. And to her devolvement of her crashing out bald-headed on the paparazzi. Right? Like, and what's sad is that like a lot of people think that they're doing this in the name of, well, I'm just looking out for who exactly? I'm just looking out. I'm just being, like I said, a girl's girl, or I'm just being a good person, or I'm just, you know, calling it what it is, or, you know, we got to fix this culture and that culture. And that's the problem with this generation today. Meanwhile, y'all don't have any solutions. Y'all just want to yap online and just talk horribly about people. Next topic. Okay, let's end things with the Epstein files. What are we doing? What are we doing? America, what are we doing? I'm smiling to keep from crying, I promise you. What is going on right now? The Epstein files have dropped, and we all know that Orange Man is in it. We just know he was at the scene of the crime, doing the crimes.
Files contain serious, unverified allegations against President Trump. The Justice Department posted 3 FBI memos describing interviews with a woman who accuses both Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump of sexually assaulting her when she was a teenager. The White House calls the accusations completely baseless.
OJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, and that was in the title, the victims, survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, we're going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files. But he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No, you're going to answer the question the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time
You're
belongs.
claiming my time.
The time
I
belongs.
think it's very
Claiming my
interesting.
time.
I think it's very
Claiming my
interesting.
time. You can
When he
reclaim
talks
time.
about they
Claiming my
indicted,
time, Mr.
the
Chairman.
president said they indicted him twice.
What's going on? Like, it's just so sad because so many victims were impacted by that man and affected. I've been watching soft white underbelly videos of some of the victims and some of the women talking about, like, in order to escape the abuse of Epstein, girls, minors that took their tops off to give Epstein like a happy ending, I guess. A lot of these young girls, they basically had to find and recruit other young girls to do the same service so they can get out of it, you know? And that's just basically like a traffic ring, girl. Like, oh my God. What, like, who's going to jail? And honestly, at this point, I'm kind of like, even if it's my faves, even if it's someone that I love and I stan, I don't care if our greats that we've celebrated and like respected and looked up to are crumbling. I don't care about that. Like, lock them up, please. This is so bad and so embarrassing. America's like the laughing joke to other countries right now. Like, we've been the laughing joke for years, probably since 2016, to be honest. But like, it's bad, dude. Like, my heart goes out to all of the victims who really tried to get justice when they thought they were gonna be heard, when they thought they were going to be seen in the court system. I think what's even more devastating for me, and a very, very, very hard pill for me to swallow, is that we high-key groom a culture for us to be okay with someone like an Epstein doing what he does by constantly denying the victims any sort of validation of what's actually going on. Like, we've built a culture off of that. Like, if a woman comes out and says, hey, that person is abusing me, we immediately have to question the woman, immediately. And it's gotten so bad that even if a kid comes out and says, hey, a family member is abusing me, hey, the father is abusing me, hey, you know, that person, that higher up that I trusted is abusing me, we have to question the kid. We haven't even discussed the male victims that have been affected by Epstein, you know, and a lot of them probably won't even come out because they're afraid that they might be seen as gay before they are seen as victims. And that's a whole nother can of worms that I am not ready to talk about right now, because it's not the fact that we're not seeing these people as victims first. It's the fact that people are so afraid to come out because of how their manhood is going to be challenged. That is horrifying. But we create that culture. We question the victims, so that people with more than enough money and resources, who are bigger than the law, bigger than the program, can get away with taking advantage of people in destitute situations. And when those people come out, we question them and say, well, why didn't you get up and leave? Well, why didn't you do this? Well, why didn't you do that? And we don't even know, like, what stakes are at hand for them to get there. Furthermore, we also don't immediately question, well, why did that guy do that thing? Why did that person do that awful thing to you? How dare they do that thing? We immediately question the victim. And that's horrifying. And we groom that into our culture nonstop. And I just think Epstein is the byproduct of that. I didn't even know that there were people who were like unalived while trying to come out about Epstein's wrongdoings. That is awful. Not surprising, but awful. I don't know. After all of this, I really hope we do better as a society, as a unit. I hope we don't allow for this behavior to happen again, but it's just kind of a byproduct of the way the world works right now. Unfortunately, people with a lot of money and resources that they've been able to hoard over time get bigger than the program, and they feel like they can get away with doing awful things like this. And I don't know, I've been having a lot of like come to Jesus moments, like heart to heart moments with myself, a lot of epiphanies with how the world works. And sometimes it's just too much, and I just get really exhausted just thinking about how ass backwards the world has always been. And then I start beating myself up for not realizing that it's always has been this way, you know? Like, me thinking that it was going to get any better was wishful thinking. Even if I romanticize a time in like politics when, you know, Bush was president, or when Mitt Romney was going up against Obama, right? It's not like they were any better of politicians. It's just that they had more couth and decorum and weren't like endorsing borderline Nazi rhetoric, right? Like, and that's where the bar is. It's just like, don't be a Nazi, don't be a PDF file, and like, sure, the public will rally around you. Don't be a money-hungry billionaire wanting to exploit people, and sure, everyone around you will want to support. Like, it doesn't even have to be about qualifications anymore. It hasn't been about qualifications anymore. Anybody who fell for like that meritocracy bullshit that the current administration was trying to feed people in order to remove programs like DEI, I need y'all to know that none of what's going on is based off of meritocracy. But yeah, we really do foster a culture that lets PDF files run free, and we then question victims. And it's not, like I said, it's not even in like politics and wealthy power circles, right? It's in religion. Like, the Catholic religion has had a PDF file issue for years. It's in evangelical churches, even in the workforce. Like, how many times do we have to explain to people that power dynamics can really affect like why people do the things that they do, and why people with money and resources get away with the things that they do, right? Like, how many times do we have to explain unfair power dynamics, especially like at work, can really affect how people are perceived, especially when party with more resources gets to like benefit from having more credibility, or gets more credibility. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so disgusting to think about. And like I said, this is how the world has always worked. I don't know. Sometimes I just think it's unfortunate that it took me this long to get to this point in life, you know? Like, even now more than ever, I just kind of want to decenter things that have been harmful for me in the past, that have been harmful, not just to me, but like other people that look like me, women that look like me, Black people that look like me. Like, I just want to decenter it all, because it's just too much sometimes. It's just too much. All right, guys, but yeah, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I have on my mind today. I don't have too much. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to my rants in this episode. Let me know what's on your mind, how you feel about some of my takes. If you agree, if you disagree, that's completely okay. Just as long as we can have a decent conversation underneath and we're not attacking each other, okay? Right? Like, I don't need you shitting on women and saying that feminism bad because, I don't know, Andrew Tate told you so. Like, please, okay? But anyway, I hope to see you guys next week. I hope to be more consistent. And yeah, as always, don't forget to drink your water. All right? And take care. Bye, guys. I love you.